The biggest thing she taught us was the triangle of price, style, and location, and we were trying to get all three.
What is up, my How to Buy a Homies? That was a clip from 2023. That was Sierra. Jeff and Sierra came on the show, and they told us all they learned about the first-time homebuyer triangle of success. It's an amazingly simple philosophy that actually should be taught to first-time homebuyers all over everywhere. And since 2019, I've been here sharing things similar to this. Things that they should teach everybody in school, or at the very least, things that should be information given to you from the professional real estate support team that you hire for one of the biggest adulting steps that you're ever going to take, buying your first home. There's no way it should be as difficult as it is for first-time homebuyers to get clear and effective, correct information. So we're going to crush the confusion surrounding this process. I have put everything that you need to know all in one place right here in the podcast library. But today, the triangle of success. This philosophy was coined by another world-class first-time homebuyer realtor specialist who's from Jacksonville, Florida. Yes, the podcast library, it's not just me sharing all of my insider secrets. It's me, plus the top 300 first-time homebuyer specialized realtors and lenders in the entire country, the best of the very, very best, plus you've also got real-life education from real people who have been through the process. Right now, there are 119 interviews that you can listen to, jam-packed with the mistakes, the revelations, and insanely helpful tips and tools and tactics, all these things that these brand new home buyers just discovered. They share them with you on the interviews. So in this episode, I'm going to share two very important pieces of first-time homebuyer education, and both of these things happen to come in sets of three. First, I'm going to answer the three biggest questions asked by first-time homebuyers, and then we'll get deeper into the triangle of success, a great tool that you can use to elevate your home shopping. So let's start with those three questions. These are the ones I hear all the time. When am I ready? How much can I afford? And where do I start? I've been answering these questions for decades at dinner with friends, or hanging out with them at a party, or anywhere someone finds out what I do. So just imagine right now that I'm just randomly in your town. I'm at your favorite hangout. You spot me and you ask me these three questions just to pick my brain. So you'd walk up and you'd say, "Hey, David, I know that you're a first-time homebuyer specialist in Southern California, but, well, my friend, yeah, that's it. My friend lives here in Dallas. And, they were talking the other night and my friend said, how do they know when they're ready to buy?" "Oh, okay, random stranger here in Dallas." Well, the short answer to your friend's question is that it's probably a lot sooner than they think. Dude, I wish more people were given that message. So make sure you tell your friend this, because the deal is the math isn't being taught. There is so much more hope and so many more possibilities than whatever you or your friend have heard. This is the message that must be shared with the entire generation of renters. This is the message that's got to get out there. This has to be shared with your friend and the entire new generation of renters. I just read a disturbing real estate financial progress index report. Just came out last week. Surveyed 2,500 adults. 65% of them expected their first purchase, the first home they ever bought, to be their forever home. And 58% of non-homeowners believe buying a starter home and upgrading later simply, quote, makes no sense these days, unquote. That kills me inside, because it means that most people are going to try and save up. That absolutely kills me inside. People aren't understanding what the possibilities are. And instead, that means most people are going to try to save up and rent during their whole 20s and 30s so that they can buy that perfect forever home. And in 2026, with rent prices where they are right now, this belief is financially handcuffing an entire generation of young adults, literally crushing the American dream and stinting economic growth for a whole bunch of people that are getting ready to try to get into the middle class. Do you know that the average first-time homebuyer today is 41 years old? It's usually 10 years lower than that. This has to be corrected. It's a new world with a new economy, and your friend probably has so many options to build wealth instead of renting that they have never even heard about. It's usually 10 years younger than that. This has to be stopped. This has to be corrected. It's a new world and a new economy, and you and your friend probably have so many options to build wealth instead of renting for the next 3, 5, or 10 years. So all those old myths about home buying and the new fears about high prices and high interest rates making everything unaffordable, that's sucking the wealth from the future of all the renters out there. I say it all the time. If you rent for the average rent in your area, even today with the prices and interest rates, you still have options to build a rent replacement strategy and level up your life by making a purchase for the average starter home in your area. The math works, and you'll be simultaneously taking control of your life and your financial future. There are millions of renters out there who could qualify to buy affordably and without being house poor, but they're not being shown all the options to end their own personal renting cycle. And a starter home or a starter condo or starter townhome, that's the first step to a stable life where you're in complete control. And now you have your first stone to build the progressive wealth in your foundation. If you have rented for even 1 year, you're ready. But here's the catch. If you're asking, am I even ready to buy? The thing is, that's the wrong question. And it's not your fault. The corrupt real estate industry, they've been ignoring all you guys for years, and they've offered you zero guidance in the process. And the internet, that's filled with a bunch of bogus myths, old, outdated material, and people telling you need 20% down and how renting is cheaper than buying, all of which is wrong, by the way. The question that people should be asking, the question that would change the financial structure of the entire country should be this: am I ready to start my plan to buy? Planning. That's the key. I have thousands of hopeful home buyers. They reach out to me and they tell me that they are way early in reaching out to me, but they just had a quick question. Now, they're sure that they're going to need at least a year or two before they can actually buy a home. Well, guess what? Get with the right people and they figure out, turns out they are ready. How ready? 72% of the people who reach out and ask me that, they're under contract in under 3.2 months. That's millions of dollars lost each year that renters gave to landlords that they could have given to themselves. There's a reason why I end this podcast episode every single time saying, you can do this. Because most people don't think they can when they really have way more options than they've ever even looked at or thought about. So right now, I'm talking to you directly, not the person with the friend who asked me the question. So you right there with me in your ear holes right now. Are you ready to buy? Well, you know what? I'm telling you, if you're listening to this right now, the math tells me that, yeah, most of you are, even if you don't think so. And you know what? If you're not one of the 72% who actually could be looking with the right team buying a home right now, say you're one of the other 28% and you need way more time. Well, great. Then you for sure are ready to start building a professionally guided 1, 2, or 3 year plan. Because doing it on your own, that turns into a 5, 7, or 10-year plan. And here's the thing with these plans. I've been doing them, watching them, and coaching them for 20 years. They change with every single generation. And right now, absolutely, yes, prices and interest rates are high, but the math still works. I've done the math for just waiting it out without exploring your options or trying to create a plan. And the data shows that this puts you years behind financially because of the high rents that suck away all your future wealth while you're trying to plan for the perfect buy. So people, when they say to me, okay, how do I know I'm ready? Well, most of the time you're asking that, I can say that 100% of you are at least ready to start a plan. It's going to give you much needed optimism, hope, and the structure, the action steps. That structure is going to shave years off of your ability to take this momentous and life-changing step. And the math of a rent replacement strategy is literally going to change the rest of your life. And I have literally done all the math for you. And I mean literally in its proper dictionary definition, not the internet or social media literally. So if that's your question and you want that full mathematical breakdown that reveals to you the new path to successful middle class happening in the 2020s and 2030s, check out the show notes for episode 426. That's going to tell you about low down payment options. The math has changed so much, especially since COVID. This is a new strategic path, and you do have options. And you've also got episode 440 and 441. That's the rent replacement strategy explained in full, and the Last Lease Ever program, which is going to tell you exactly what to do, all the steps that you should be taking while you're getting yourself ready. I've been doing this here for 7 years. So don't wait till the next episode drops because you think some magic formula is going to appear in the next one. And that's when you can get started. It's already all here for you. I've recorded and done it all, and I redo it every year based on what you need to do that year. So check the show notes for those episodes. The next question I get all the time is, how much can I afford? Again, the wrong question. The question should be, what can I afford today? And then if I find out the monthly payment's too much, or if the approval's not high enough for the house that I want to buy, what are the next steps I need to take to get where that approval works for me? Besides, just, hey, go out and make more money. I know that's kind of a long question, not a great reframe, but you get the idea. Once you do reframe that question, this is yet another one that I have answered dozens and dozens of times over the last 7 years in all the old podcast episodes. The most recent explanation for 2026, everything you need to know about down payments, debt to income ratios, loan approval, purchasing power, figuring out exactly how much you can afford and all the formulas to get there. It's all in episodes 443, What Can I Afford? Now, don't go out and get on the internet and read or talk to somebody and get that generic one-size-fits-all first-time home buyer rules. This is what you can afford. All those generic ones, they limit your options. They are consistently way off, especially when you talk to real people who've been through it. I've been coaching this stuff for 20 years, and the majority of people that reach out to me, they end up being delightfully surprised to find out what they can actually afford. I say that, but I do want to make sure so you understand. Yeah, they're really stoked until they do all the math and they realize that they could have done this 1 year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and they start figuring out how much rent they actually paid when they could have bought a home, and that can sting a little bit. So I say this now, especially in this environment where rents are. Instead of asking how much can I afford, you really should be asking yourself, how long can I afford to keep renting without a plan? And hey, you listeners there in the high cost of living area, I am specifically talking to you. I get so sad when I see people just because their rent's high and the houses are high or the apartments are high in the area they live that they don't even start asking questions. And 5 or 10 years later, that's a big chunk of change that went to a landlord, not to you. High cost of living, folks, check out episodes 469 and 470 to explain the surprising math, because what you don't know is costing you big time. The math is ugly when you look at the people who wait and wait and wait and don't discover all their options. The people who never looked at what was actually going to happen if they tried this today because they were hoping the housing market would get better for them and it would be cheaper. All the math and data about that's laid out for you in episode 457. Is 2026 a buy or wait market? That's where I talk to you about the secret of the supply and demand and how low inventory is a thing affecting everything. And there's even more math in episode 460, rent versus buy. That's where I break down the ugly math for renters and the beautiful spreadsheets for home buying planners. And again, there's hundreds of episodes here. You can hear from real renters just like you after they discover the math and they actually bought a home. You can hear directly from them what they discovered and how they found out they had crazy affordable options once they had a first-time homebuyer specialized team review their individual situation. What I did was I put the episode guide in the show notes, but in fact, I even put 22 specific interview episodes directly in the show notes for you from buyers whose total cost to buy, all in, down payment and closing costs, was incredibly low. Some of them as low as 4, 3, even 2% of the purchase price. A lot of these people bought their homes for 50% or 75% less than what the internet told them was what they needed to buy a home. One of those episodes, 22 of them, I'll put them in the show notes. One of them even had a realtor tell them that they could only qualify to buy a home with 30% down. Well, that was what one realtor told them, but it turned out they got a unicorn team and they bought with a 0 down payment options. One of these episodes was some buyers that had a realtor, a professional, tell them, yep, we've looked at all your stuff. You need a 30% down payment. Turns out after they got a unicorn, they bought with a 0 down payment option. And the third question, the biggest one that we hear all the time, where do I start? Well, for this one, every single year I put out the ultimate first-time homebuyer list of the very first 10 steps to take. The 2026 version, That's episodes 400 to 410. Go there and you'll finally feel like you've got a roadmap that's going to give you the confidence in what to do first and know that you're doing the right thing moving forward in your planning. And hey, I know I gave you a whole bunch of different episodes to listen to. And I know there's probably some of you out there going, dude, I just wanted a simple formula answer to those questions. I was so excited when you said you were going to answer them. I was hoping you'd say like, all right, what you need to do is save $20,000 and then you're ready. And then you can afford a $400,000 home. And then your first step to do is go call someone and look at houses. Can you buy a home like that? Yeah, but should you? I mean, that's kind of the point of me answering the questions in this way. I guarantee you all the horror stories that you hear about how impossible it is to buy a home, or we went to go buy a home and this terrible thing happened and we lost all our money, or we bought a money pit. I guarantee you that's from people who were looking for those generic answers. And what they got was incomplete answers. They asked one of those questions to a realtor or a lender, and suddenly they're rushed and pressured into what they can buy instead of what they should buy with a plan. So sorry, gang, you're not going to get generic answers here. Nothing that I do here on the podcast is incomplete, because the goal isn't for you to listen to one episode and go crazy and go, oh, I got to call and buy a house right now. No, the goal is to give you the education so you feel empowered and you can move forward confidently. After you form your own plan with a team of true specialized advocates, when and how you buy a home, it's all going to be part of a custom plan that's made for you. The when you're going to go out and start writing offers on homes, well, that's fine. That's going to come naturally. You're not going to feel pressure, because that step will be the next natural step in the evolution and execution of a plan that has been personally made for your maximum success. Now, here's another tip to help expedite your planning process. For the days that I don't drop an episode here on this podcast, what you should do is make yourself a playlist so you can listen to one episode a day, even on the days that we don't drop one, or maybe even 2 or more a day if you've got the time. You can find an episode for every time that you're commuting or working out or walking a dog or doing your chores. No joke. Everything's here. You could have a full playlist for every day instead of just sitting and waiting for the next episode. There's 7 years of this stuff here, baby. Don't wait. Thinking the next episode is going to have some new update that's going to be magic change that means you can finally afford to buy a home. Now you should start your plan. It's not the way it goes. The library of episodes is a complete learning tool for right now. Find the titles and answer your questions. And be sure you go back and mix in the interviews. They are so full of so many great first-time homebuyer tools. All the tips, the hacks, the tactics, the strategies, the surprise things that you hadn't thought of. Not to mention, they're pretty entertaining and awfully inspiring. In fact, here's something inspiring that I learned back in 2023, the triangle of success. It's a first-time homebuyer concept that I had taught in one form for years, but I never had put it this eloquently. Figuring out your personal flexibility and your wants, your needs, and your must-have in your home shopping, that's an art form, and the triangle helps to explain it. If you listen to the podcast for a long time, you may have heard me talk about the C word in previous episodes. No, it's not the one you're thinking, you dirty birdie. The C word I'm talking about is compromise. Here's how Jeff and Sierra, all the way back from 2023, described it to me and told me about the triangle of success.
We reached out to you, got connected with Wendy Griffiths, and she's just been great. She educates us so that we can make our own decisions, and also very, very patient with us. The biggest thing she taught us was the triangle of price, style, and location. And we were trying to get all 3. And she's like, most of the time you're going to get 2. And we were just very naive. We're like, no, we're going to do 3. We wanted the house in a safe, part of town that we really enjoyed in our price range. And she's like, okay, and set up the search. And we were searching, driving to this house is perfect in our price range, and the area would be not great. And we did that for a while, probably for a good month or maybe 2. And then we were dead set, we're not getting a condo, not getting a townhouse, we're not sharing any walls with anyone. And eventually we're we can open the search. We'll kind of check it out. So
are you coming to me live from a townhouse right now?
Yes,
Yeah,
we are.
we sure are.
proud, proud townhouse owners for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you two whippersnappers, when I was your age, me and my wife raised our kids where it was us and then pregnant and the first few years of our kids' lives. But you know what? The neighborhood was awesome. And
Yeah.
I have said in my podcast, I actually heard it, believe it or not, on a comedy podcast from these guys named the Sklar brothers, who their dad was in business. He owned a frame shop, and he told them three things: you can have it fast, you can have it good, or you can have it cheap, but you're not getting all three. So you get two. But that triangle of price, location, and style. Oh, Wendy's going to get fancy bows for her unicorn
Yeah.
mane.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, so cool. How about the process? Were there things about looking at homes and buying homes that you weren't expecting that you never saw on HGTV?
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say it's crazy like to see pictures of a house online and then going to see it in person and being like, what the heck is going on? Crazy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess I'll add to that. It's that was probably the lengthiest process. You know, that's what you want to get to. That's what you think about when you're buying a home is we get to go look at houses. But that was the biggest challenge for us. We were new to Jacksonville, didn't know the areas. And Wendy knows her areas and guided us as much as she could, but still wanted us to allow us to make our own decision. So we had to spend the time of going out there and driving through neighborhoods and actually doing showings. And as soon as we walked through the door, we could have just turned around and left like this isn't it. But that was the lengthiest part of the process, was just educating ourselves. And from where we started, like Sierra had mentioned, started with, we're going to, knock out every side of this triangle. That's not going to be an issue. And then, reevaluating throughout the process, reassessing it during that process, and I guess widening our search to get to the point where we're at. And we don't want to say we settled, but we definitely, from where we started to where we ended, it was almost night and day for sure. So really for us, we heard all different types of information around the market. Now's not the right time. Now's the time to get in. Don't wait out. Buy while you can. So we just trusted in, our realtor and our team with our lender, kind of talking through what we could afford. And again, going back to the triangle. So really just prioritizing what we were looking for. And I think Sierra said it best, and we've hung on to that to this day, is whatever we buy, we want to be happy with the way it is at that moment. So regardless, we can go in and redo a kitchen. We can go in and do a lot of projects. But when we move in, we want to be happy with it, regardless if we have to live with it that way for a year or 5 years.
So what's your best advice for anyone out there who's thinking about buying a home?
Definitely, it's a commitment, and it's a journey. So once you get started, just power through it. But really, the thing that stuck out for us was finding our unicorn and trusting in them, and really just finding the right team that's going to help you reach the end of that journey.
I was just going to say also, like, get educated. Like, there's resources out there now for first-time home buyers, including this podcast and like just listening to your unicorn realtor. And yeah, on the like realtor side of things, I think something that we really had to like realize is that, like, I don't know, like you see in the movies, like you're going and riding in a car and like driving around at all these houses and they're like with you 24/7. Like that's not the case. Like ultimately, like it's your job and your responsibility to like go out and look at these houses. And that, as fun as it is, it's kind of a part-time job. Like it gets frustrating. It's like, oh, we have to go spend 30 minutes drive to this house and then look at it, 30 minutes drive home every day after work, and you got to be diligent and not get frustrated, and you just got to keep at it. But
yeah, so I think mine is, there is so much information out there, really exhaust all options. And that's kind of how I'm so thankful that we stumbled upon this podcast, because this was the turning point for us. But just exhausting, you can get on the internet and Google and see Instagram stuff for all this feedback or talk to friends and family. But hearing someone like you, David, that takes first-time home buyers serious, wants to educate this this population, everyone is going to be a first-time home buyer at some point. So what a population to talk to and really dive into. But for us, exhausting all of our options to just get educated, yes, your realtor is going to do that. But before you even get a realtor, being educated and just understanding terms, understanding stories, hearing other people's stories is nothing but it's just going to benefit you. So,
See, gang, there is gold in that episode guide and the interviews and all the other podcasts, giving you everything you need to know. It's right here. And if you have a specific question, tell you what, I've even got you covered there. Go to howtobuyahome.com and hit Ask David. I answer them all personally, no robots. It's actually me, not someone from my team. And if you want to get your team, ASAP, your real estate support team that's going to help you buy a home, which I highly recommend, then go to that same page, howtobuyahome.com, and find the link for asking for a unicorn. Some of the best success stories come from listeners who got their unicorn team early. What they did is they talked to someone and said, "Okay, you're not ready yet. Let me give you some pre-planning action steps." And they're getting it from a dedicated realtor and lender, someone who's telling them you don't have to do this alone and is willing to walk with them, not getting paid, by the way. Nobody gets paid until you close on a home, and these people are willing to work with you for a year or two. And while they're there offering you that guidance, you can also keep listening to episodes. It's a simultaneous, continual educational process with the luxury of having that professional team working with you. They're like those rubber bumpers in the bowling alley, so no gutter balls. They're there to answer questions and help you figure out what to do to get ready. They are not there to push you into looking at homes immediately just so they can get paid. So don't be one of those people who lives with regrets. I mean, I'm always happy to help people when they come to me and they go, "Okay, I'm ready to buy a home." And I figure everything out and we go, "Great. You actually could have bought a home like 3 years ago." That math stings. Told you that. And that causes a little regret. But me, I've only got one regret. I shouldn't have named this podcast How to Buy a Home. I should have named this podcast How to Plan to Buy a Home. Because with the right team building your plan with you, you know what I'm going to say next? You can do this.
Looking for more DIY education or your own personal step-by-step guidance through the home buying journey? Since 2019, How to Buy a Home has been the #1 resource for first-time home buyers. So visit howtobuyahome.com to get started.